So to show us how it can be used in teaching and, talking to your students. It's a great tool for interaction. And without further ado, I'll just let him run the show.
Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. Today we're going to talk about Horizon Wimba live classroom. Actually, something that just recently happened is the company actually dropped off the Horizon off their name. So now they're just called Wimba, which is actually quite nice for everyone because everybody just called them Wimba to begin with. And so it just made sense. So today we're going to be talking about Wimba live classroom. Now up front you'll see two course projectors. This will be our student side and this will be our instructor side. I'll be primarily on this side, but to give you an idea what the end user will see, you can always kind of glance over on this side to see what's going to be coming across. So let me give you a little history about Wimba here at K-State. We purchased Wimba this last semester, and it's been active for the fall semester that we just got over with. And within that semester, we had 201 faculty use it. That's quite a bit, and that's without us doing any type of publicity behind it at all. So instructors were finding it in their course, they were using it, creating lectures with it, and using it online for collaboration with their students. A lot of questions we get is, why Horizon Wimba? K-State Online already does have a chat room. Yes, it does. One of the biggest questions we received from faculty and instructors were, how can I do virtual office hours and virtual review sessions? And Horizon Wimba Live Classroom allowed us to do those two things. And we find that a lot of people are doing a lot more with it, doing training, webinars, kind of help sessions itself. So there's a lot of new things that are coming out with it, that people are using it in new creative ways. So if you think of something, please let us know. We're always excited about hearing new ideas on how to use it. So kind of what I'm going to start off at is how you today can start using Horizon Wimba. So I'm just going to log into K-State Online. And here on my list of courses, I'm going to go ahead and go into my Integrity course on the Tools page. Now, Horizon Wimba is already integrated into the course. What you need to do to start using it is come into your components. And there'll be a little new Wimba Live Classroom. You'll want to make sure that checkbox is marked there. And as soon as you check that box, your course is ready to start using Live Classroom. So let's go back to the Tools. And how you'll know that it installed correctly is we'll have two new links in the course. Under Content Management, you'll have Manage Wimba Content. And then under Communication, you have Wimba Live. Now these two links are basically a direct link into the room and then a way to manage your content for the room itself. So let's see. Let's go ahead. I want to show you one thing before we get started here. Now the nice thing about Wimba is it does have a built-in wizard that kind of detects if you've ever went through the room before, which is very handy, especially for students. It basically forces them to go through the wizard and make sure their computer is set, ready to go. And it'll actually do the same thing to you. So let's actually, I'm going to open up a new page. So I want to show you kind of what the wizard is going to look like. Get rid of all this. Because, of course, I've already gone through the wizard before. So run the setup wizard. So it's a pretty simple wizard, straightforward. You'll see this when you first come in. You go ahead and select Start. And the first thing it does is it checks for pop-up windows. I have my pop-up windows turned off, so it bypassed that. That's probably going to be 90% of the problem people are going to have, or the pop-up windows. Because everybody has a Google toolbar, some people have a Yahoo toolbar, and then Windows also has a built-in pop-up blocker. So you kind of have to see which one are blocking it and just kind of disable that for K-State Online, which is a good example and a good idea to do for K-State Online in general, because there's a lot of pop-up windows in K-State Online. So once you have that, it checks to make sure you have Java. It does run off of Java, which most machines have nowadays. And with that, it also tests the text chat. So I keep going through next here. Ask me if I want to trust this. You want to click yes, because if you click no, it basically is not going to let you in. So trust that. Basically, it's just saying, are you sure you want to run this application on your computer? Turn on my speakers here.
Congratulations. If you could hear this message, audio playback is working properly on your computer.
So this is a good sign. If you hear this, this is what you want to hear. And it keeps going. So if you come to this spot and you see the bars jumping, that means there's some kind of audio is trying to come through. So if you don't hear it, something's wrong with either your speakers, maybe they're not plugged in, or something happened along the way there. So test that. So I'm going to click next here. And this is actually to test your mic. If you have a built-in mic on the computer, what we recommend are these headsets. A lot of people don't like headsets. You don't necessarily have to wear them. You can put it around your neck. But the nice thing about these is they're very good quality and they're cheap. We have them available for $10, so they're pretty easy to do. And then the other alternative is just a normal mic. But we've found that these type of headsets, you get less distortion and less feedback and less surround sound, what's going on in the room. Give you an idea, I had one instructor who was doing a Wimba session, and I had a student call and say, something's wrong with my audio. I hear the sounds coming in and out. And so I logged into the room to listen to see what was going on. And then once I got in there, I heard music playing in the background from the instructor. Because you can lock your mic as an instructor, and I'll show you that here a little later, but he had his mic locked and had music playing. And so the way his mic was picking it up, it was cutting in and out because it was in the background. So the student assumed there was something wrong with the connection. But it was just really, I had to tell the instructor, hey, turn off your music real fast because it's confusing people. So keep that in mind. So with that, if I test, so I can hear myself coming through. So click past that. Now QuickTime. You do not need to have QuickTime to participate in a live session. You do need to use it, though, if you're going to view an archive. Wimba has archiving capabilities built into it. And so actually you should be hearing noise. I have to change one setting here. I've been playing around with stuff, so forgive me. Us tech guys are never happy with, just the normal. So if you see the animation and all that, that means you're good to go. So click next and finished. So if you see this, you have all check marks there. You're ready to participate in a Wimba session. So we'll finish that. So let me back out of that. Okay, the Wimba content. This is basically where I store all of my content that I'm going to present on. This will be changing in future releases to kind of tie it into managed files, because that's really where all your content is. But because of time and we wanted to get this out to you, we had to kind of make it separate for the time being. But to give you an idea, it looks like there's a lot of things going on here, but it's really simple, I promise. Basically, these are our categories or my subject matters. I can also label them, basically think of them as folders. So say I want to create a new folder. Maybe I just want to call it week 1. I create this folder. I have it here on my list. And you'll see in my content side, it'll tell me what I have in those folders. So if I want to come into week 1, this is where I would add the content into that folder. I can choose a file. I can come in here to all my folders, my documents, and upload a PowerPoint presentation, or any actually type of file as well. I can make a website URL that I can actually have ready to launch for my students. And I can create a poll question or a survey. You see we have a lot of choices here, multiple choice, open-ended, bullet list, questionnaire. Really allows you to customize. This is really where the interaction comes into play. especially on a computer, you're fighting for a student's attention span there. And so you really want to keep them engaged and active. And so this is one of the ways you can do that. And I'll show you what that will kind of look like. So once you have that, either hit Add or Create, and that puts it into your content folders here. So let's look at Integrity and KSU. I have some slides here that I can kind of preview what the title of each slide is, so I can kind of keep track. If I wanted to see what that slide looked like, I just click on it, and I get a little preview of what the slide was. And then if you didn't like it, or if it was old content, you can just click the delete button right here. It'll be, are you sure? We always ask you, make sure you want to delete that. You can hit OK. With those poll results and those multiple choice, if you ever want to see what the responses were, we have a tab here, and it's by date. So you can actually come in here and pull out those results if you were using it for research. You can come out and pull that data out. Well, that's kind of where all your content is stored for the room. Now, once we have that all ready to go, let's say we have a session ready to go, and our students are waiting for us to get in there, we just click on the Wimba Live. And if I was a student, I'd come under Collaboration, and then Wimba Live. So it's right there normally where the chat room and the message board is. So go ahead and click on that. Got the loading the room here. You can already see my students in there. Now, two major differences between, you'll see that I as an instructor are bold and the students are not a bold red. So that kind of lets you know who's kind of in as a presenter. If you have multiple presenters in a course, multiple instructors, same applies here. You can have multiple presenters in this room as well. So if you had a co-faculty in a room, you both could present at the same time. The nice thing about Wimba is it does use voice over IP. The talking with the headsets. Hello. It's very fast. And I'm on wireless, and I don't, my signal strength, I don't have that great a signal at the moment, and it's still very fast. If any of you are familiar with the old chat, live chat in K-State Online, it was a great tool, but there was about a 15-second delay for when the instructor spoke until when it got to the students. This is pretty much real time. So we're really excited about that. And it works both ways. If I was a student, I'd come over here. Hello. So it's really kind of nice. And the nice thing about it is that you don't actually have to pass a mic. You can have we've had over 200 people in a room at one time. Of course, you can imagine if everybody talked at the same time, it could get a little unruly. But there's ways around that as well. Here on my user side, let's say that I had a lot of students and I just wanted to lecture, and then the last 15 minutes I wanted to open up for a Q&A. So I can come in here and I can disable their mics with that little disable right there. And now you'll see that their mic became a minus instead of a plus. So you can actually come in here and turn off all the students' mics. Now, unfortunately, you can't turn off another instructor's mic, only students. And you can do the same thing with the chat. It does have a built-in chat in case they don't have a mic on their computer. They can come in here and just do the normal chat. And the nice thing as a student, they can actually come in, instead of sending it to the whole room, they can send you a private message. So if they had a question and they don't necessarily want the whole room to know what the question was, they can send you that privately. And let's say you had a really unruly student who was being very disruptive. With this move user, you can kick them completely out of the room, and they have to wait to watch the archive. So that's kind of a nice feature too. Hopefully you don't have to use it. Yeah.
On that private, does it, when we're archiving, does it
No.
archive the private message?
No, it does not archive the private messages. With the archive, it does archive the chat, but the private is smart enough to realize, hey, it's private, you probably don't want that archived. So if you want that chat necessarily archived, make sure they use the all for that. Now, by default, students can privately send messages to each other. you as an instructor have the option to turn that off. Because a lot of times you don't want them chatting about, the game last night or what's going on. So you might want to turn that off. So speaking of archive, it does have a built-in archive into the room. To start the archive, simple as clicking Start. Would you like to archive this presentation? Okay. You'll see here in the list, we'll have an archiver and then an encoder will come in. This will let you know that it is being archived. Okay, it says it's being archived, so I can go ahead and close this window. So now at this point, everything is being captured. We didn't start it automatically because we figured instructors might want to take care of some business at the beginning of a course that they don't necessarily want archived. So this really gives you the flexibility to determine when to stop the archive. And to stop, it's as simple as clicking the stop, and it'll stop the archive. But I'm going to keep it going for a little while. Kind of give you some ideas of what these different buttons are down here. To the left, this is my signal strength. This kind of lets me know how I'm connected to the the Wimba server. And as an instructor, I can also see how the student is connected. So if a student had a very poor connection, or maybe they kept coming in and out of the room, I can kind of look to see if they're having computer problems. That way that gives you as the instructor an idea what's going on. That way you don't have to be wondering, what's the deal? Why they keep coming in and out? You can kind of see, hey, they're having problems. The talk is just what it sounds like. Kind of, I think of it like a walkie-talkie style. Click and hold, and that's kind of your talk mechanism. Or you can hit the control key, and it does the same thing on the keyboard. So you've got some flexibility there. The speaker is basically make sure it gives you a feedback if sound is coming through. So on the student side, you will see that the speaker is being highlighted. And then the opposite with the speaker, with the guy, is my mic. So make sure that the mic is coming through. So that way you kind of have some idea of if it's working correctly. If somebody says, oh, I can't hear you, and you don't see any of those bars jumping up and down, something's probably wrong with your mic connection. Telephone, I'll come back to that because that's a really cool feature. And then we have our options. Now, students have options too, but they're not near as robust as the instructor options. So you can adjust your speaker volumes. What you'll probably use more than anything else is a lock talk. Now we're probably going to get some feedback coming through, but you notice my talk comes to a little lock icon comes on. So now I can be presenting, doing other things without having to hold the button. Now the opposite is true with if I click the talk or hit the control key, it mutes me. So this is very handy. So if you wanted to do something else and don't want the whole room to hear you, you can go ahead and mute yourself and then just release. I'm going to turn that off because I hate hearing myself echo. So simple as that. I turn it right back off. So those are kind of these functionalities right here. Josh, if you want to help. Now say if a student had a question, I talked about 200 users in a room, there are some built-in management tools. So as a student, if they had a question, they can raise their hand by clicking on the little hand button there. Oh, it's a little eraser thing up here. Yep. Maybe. Oh, I'll have to close out of the options, I'm sorry. Yeah, close out of this right here. There you go. You got it? Did you click it? No, you didn't click it. Maybe. And then the mouse button right there. So now you see the hand is raised, and then I, as an instructor, I get a little notification. It's a 1. So let's say you had 200 people. It always go for the order for the first person to raise their hand. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And they always get bumped to the top of the list. That way you, as an instructor, know who the first person. So if you said 5 bonus points for the first person to answer this question. You can actually be able to tell who the first person was to kind of raise their hand. And so with that, most of the time they will unclick their hand raise, but as the instructor, I can actually come in here and reset it as well. We have some built-in polling. On the content creation side, you saw where we can do multiple choice. But let's just say, are you still awake? They have the option of hopefully saying yes or no, and hopefully they'll say yes. And what happens there is they get a little green check or the red X, and you can reset those as well. So that kind of keeps it engaged and interactive with the students. That way, they feel like they're a part of the class, and hopefully they are still awake. So I'm going to turn back on the mic here. And that beep lets them know that their mic is turned back on. Mm-hmm. Right, it'll actually be a scroll bar. Unfortunately, the nice thing about this and the bad thing about this system is you can make the room window as big as you would like, but you cannot adjust the size. You can't bring this up, is the only thing. But you can make this full screen. So that's kind of a positive and a negative to it. Since you can make it big, they try to keep this the same size so it doesn't get lost. So you would have the scroll right here, and you'd have to go through the list of names. And then down here, you'll see that it tells me how many people are in the room. So if you have your roster in front of you and you know how many students should be in the room, you can come in here and look to make sure everybody's supposed to be there is there. And it does give you an idea, too, of the yes and no's. So if you just want to see a general number, you can check there. So on the content side, this is kind of where you get your money's worth. So this little drop down is all those folders I had in my Wimba content. So let's just do community ecology. So I select the folder, and then I click go. That's basically like the OK button. So here's my list, my presentation. So I have my PowerPoint slide. So I'll go ahead and click the slide. So it does use Java, so Java will have to load, but it's still pretty fast. The first initial time is a little slower. So now if I were to change slides, it's pretty much real time. Usually the quality is a little nicer. These slides had some problems with them. I actually pulled them off from an instructor. But the nice thing about this, as an instructor, I have this toolbar on the left-hand side, and I can actually come in here and annotate over top of the slide. This is really great, especially if you have a tablet PC. That particular one is a tablet, and I'll show you here in a second. But you can do some annotations. You can hide certain areas. You have a little pointer, and you're like, no, look here, look here, look here. I can write on the slide. I can change all my colors, make it fancy. If I ended up writing all over the slide and it didn't look all that good, I come in here and erase, clear all those out. If I clear slide, it will actually clear out the slide altogether because this is a whiteboard. So you can use it just as a regular whiteboard. So I'll do that. So my slide's gone. And if I need it to, I can just click on it and pull it right back up. You can import images. So say you had an image on the computer that you wanted to show. You just took a recent one. You come in here, import, and then upload that straight in. You can save, and screen grab are pretty much the same thing. So if you did a lot of annotations, maybe working on some type of formula or something along those lines, you can actually save that as a new image. So that way you have it for your records. And then the enable. This is where it gets really good for like virtual office hours and review sessions. I click enable. I have a list of my students here. So I'll just hit enable all. And now the students have the toolbar. So this is handy, especially if you have a student that's having a problem with a particular slide. They can come in and say, well, what about this section? Let me click it. There you go. And then so they can annotate over top of the slide as well. So it really gives a lot of functionality. You as the instructor still have the capability of clearing the slide and disabling their access at any time. So it really makes it great. Say you had a PDF document you're showing, and they said, no, I have a certain section, a question about this section, and they can kind of underline it. And that way you know exactly what they're talking about and get right to their question. Yeah. Yes. And you'll kind of have to let them know that if you do give it to everyone, I did it to the help desk when I was showing them how to use this. I had all kinds of stuff on the slide, and somebody hit erase, and they're like, "Oh, where did my picture go?" It erased everybody's. So basically, they all have the same control. So that's where you'd want to come in and maybe just enable one student instead of the whole class. But then, like everything else, everything you can give, you can take away. So you do have complete control. So we have PowerPoint presentations. I'm going to go to another one here. So in this one, I made one of those multiple choice questions. So I just click on it. It says, how many times a day do you log into K-State Online? You want to go ahead and if you wanted to get really involved, you can come in here. I do much more than 4 to 6 times a day. But you just come in here, select it, and then you hit submit. And it says, thank you for your response. It does take a couple of seconds because the server has to process the information and what people had said. But here, very shortly, you will see the responses change on this side. So it tells me 2, which is 100% of the room, and what they answered. So I, as an instructor, can preview the responses and see what the room said. And then I can publish that out for everyone to view. So that way they can see what the rest of the class responded with. So that's really nice if you just kind of wanted to survey the class real briefly, again, keep them engaged. Yes. Yes, it has its own dedicated server. Right, and in that managed content where it said the poll results, those are where you would get those results under that poll results tab. So there's another slide. Now to advance the slides, you have a couple of different options. You can click on the slide. We have little arrows up at the top where you can just advance that way. And you can use your, that's basically it actually. Now this little P, you would think that would stand for PowerPoint. That's not the case. That's actually a preview. So let's say you didn't have an outline of your slides in front of you. You can click that and actually look at the preview of the next slide without the student seeing. So that way if you got lost or just wanted to see what the next slide was going to be, you could kind of pull that up, look for yourself, and then close that out. On the web, if I click that tab or button, it pulls up this little box, so I could come in and say, I want you to go to the K-State webpage. Basically, it launches a browser on their side, and so basically forcing the students to look at that window. Now, if I navigate, they're not going to see that. Basically, it's just a whole new window outside. This is great for if you're wanting to just give them maybe a research link or some kind of topic that you want them to kind of go and read after the class is done. You can go ahead and push it to them. eBoard is just the whiteboard, just like it sounds. My PowerPoint's already in a whiteboard, so it launches the same thing over again. So if I just wanted to go to the whiteboard, I can also clear my slide. The share is a really neat function. This basically allows you as an instructor to share your desktop or share a student's desktop. So if they were working on a project, maybe a PowerPoint or a presentation, you could actually pull up their desktop and look at their presentation. That way, if they had a question, you can kind of look at it and say, okay, you need to change this, this, and this. So it really gives you that office hours and review online. I'm just going to share mine. Now, one thing to keep in mind is you want to make sure your students are not on dial-up, because basically you're streaming video out to them at this point. So let's go ahead. Oop, didn't mean to close that window. That again. Okay, so when I do that, I have this option here of what I want to share. I recommend screen area. That gives you the most flexibility. Or you can share your full desktop. So with the screen area, this allows you to actually pull and grab what you're going to share. And I hit OK. And then on the student side, you'll see it says app sharing, and you see that section of the screen. So let's say I had a Word document. So now they're going to see real time whatever I'm going to be sharing. So if I wanted to demo software or show them how to do something, I can just pull that up, kind of show them in real time. So you see it's pretty fast what it's going to be. We just don't recommend dial-up because it is kind of streaming video out to them. So once I have that all done, you can do the same thing with the students. So if they had a Word document and you wanted to critique it, you can bring that up. You just come into the app sharing. Let me pull back up the room. And I sit in sharing. And that kind of takes away my sharing. Now they'll just see app session has ended, so you'll just have to go on to a new slide or continue discussion at that point. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to kind of reach out and kind of help on distance without having them send you the presentation. You can do it real time. So that gives you a lot of flexibility there. So you can do PowerPoint, you can do any type of document. Now if I were to pull up a Word document, what it would do, it would actually download the document on their local PC. The only thing that plays locally is PowerPoint in this window. Everything else is basically like a push. You're pushing them the document like they were going to download it in the course. That way they would just have to follow along unless you're doing an application sharing. So if you really want to demonstrate something, you'd want to do the share. If you just want to push them something, you would just go ahead and upload it here and then push them the document. Let me see if I have a Word document in here. Surely in all my folders I do. Oh, another thing too, this more folders, if you click on that at the bottom, select that and go, you will actually see other courses that you belong to as an instructor. So say you had a course that you wanted to pull from, you don't have to upload it twice. You would just go to the more and it says Grain Science 650. So I could come into this and I can look at those slides and then use those slides. So that was really handy as an instructor. That way you don't have to have multiple copies of your presentations. And it doesn't look like I have a one. But one thing I wanted to show you is one thing you can do as well. Now it'll play at different times. It will automatically load here in a second. So you can play flash movies within the actual system. And it should go here in a second. Because basically what it's doing is forcing the download to the student. Let me go to one that's not so big. It should come here. Well, that's a pretty big animation. That was there's about 10 minutes worth of animation. Yeah, right. So it should be coming. Maybe. Hope it doesn't make a liar out of me. I have faith it'll come. So basically, if you did have a flash movie or some kind of animation that you want to show, like a simulation, this one's called the cursor reader. I think I have Flash installed on that. So basically, I ate my cursor. And it should still be coming. Should be. Give it a second here. Oh. It's pushing the whole file. It's right. It's not streaming at this point. And anything you do, you'll have to make sure they have that type of software installed. I'm pretty sure I have Flash installed in here, but I might have uninstalled it by some reason. But we'll keep it going to see just how long it takes to give you an idea. But the other thing you can do is this little telephone button that I said I'd come back to. Come back to that. So with that, I have a number. It is a long distance number. But basically, Wimba has a built-in phone bridge built into it. So let me come in here. So I can call that number. Let me put on speakerphone here.
Welcome. Please enter your PIN number provided on the application interface.
So I'll go ahead and enter my PIN. And this is unique for every student. You as an instructor can also give them this number. 6832. Hello. So now my phone is my headset. So if you had a student who was maybe in a commute, they can actually call in and still participate in the live session. Of course, they're not going to be able to see the slides. And I'm going to get some feedback on here, but hello. So it comes out of my phone as well. So you have a lot of flexibility there for students. We found that even distance students sometimes have a hard time being, at certain chat sessions at that time. So this gives them the flexibility, and it also gives them the option, if they have a problem with their audio, they can still call in. So you still have kind of a backup just in case. Now, some of the things that we were saying that you can do new creative things. If you have a PDA phone that has internet access, I've actually demoed as an instructor on my phone using the Wi-Fi that's built into it. Because I have internet, I was able to change my slides, use the mic that's built into it, and present while walking on campus. So there's a lot of cool creative things that you can do. It's just whatever your imagination is at that point. And this isn't loading for some reason. It makes me really sad. I promise it does work though. Yes. Right, that is correct. Let me go ahead and upload. To the right here is a little upload. So if you did forget something, you can click on that and you can import PowerPoint. But if I were going to do my actual document, I'd have to do it in the Manage Wimba Content. So let's come in here. So let's add new content. I'll just choose a file. Let's just do a help document, a PDF document. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. It says it's added. It'll be at the very bottom. Here's my help document. You'll see it's PDF. It'll give you the extension of whatever that document is. So I go to that. Here's my help document. So if I click that, for me, it will load in the window. You can see on the student side, it's thinking there for a second. And you'll see start downloading from the site. So basically, it's going to head and load. Basically, it is downloading it locally on that computer. So let me accept that real fast. But now, if I were to scroll, they're not going to see me scroll. They're not going to see that because it's locally. So I would have to tell them, go to page 2, or go to page, where I was at on the session, so they can keep up with me. That's where that kind of local comes from.
Going back to the being archived as well?
Yes.
Scroll through, that's
Yes.
really important.
Basically, everything that you see as the instructor, I forgot to hit go, will be captured. Whatever you see as the instructor is going to be. So if you do a screen recording, it'll see what's on your screen, basically. Let's see. That. As an instructor, you do have the option, if you have two monitors, and a lot of people have that now, you can detach this window and kind of drag that wherever you'd like to have it, so kind of create more room. And then to place it back, you just select that little button there and kind of snaps it back in to the room. To exit, you have an exit. Of course, will take you completely out of the system, and a lobby. A lobby will show you all the courses you have as an instructor or a student. So if you're in multiple courses and click the lobby, you'll see all those courses. You won't see any other courses. So if you have students who do accidentally click that, so it told me goodbye. Now, students can still stay in there, which is great for collaboration purposes. If you just want them to get in there and meet and work on a project, they can go in there, use the chat functions, and kind of communicate. But if they do get out, you see I have two classes that I was involved in as an instructor. I just click back on the class that I want to access. I don't see any of the other classes that other people have. And it does pull back up that page, because basically it thinks, oh, you got kicked out of the system. You might have missed this. And so it refreshes it for me, just in case it's a backup, in case I ever happen to miss that. And then I'm back right where I left off in the session. Now to stop the archive, I go ahead and click stop and hit OK. This is basically going to build the archive now at this point. The stop is also kind of the room reset. If you want to reset, you know how I came back in, that page, the web page came up. If I didn't want that to happen, I click the stop and reset the room. That way it's kind of like a fresh room at that point. It won't have any memory. So it tells me my archive has been created, and you'll see here it's my course title and then the date and the time that it was created. So I'll have to remember that. So go ahead and close that window. And let's go back into K-State Online. So now I'm done with my session. I have my archive. Now what do I do with it? You come into your managed files, and it's like adding any other content to the course. You can come into New Item and Wimba Archive Link. And that will give me a list of all my courses. Now you notice the one we did today is not there yet. It does take a little time because the servers have to talk. It could take up to 15 minutes because they're not constantly going, just because that would use a lot of bandwidth between the two servers. So about every 15 minutes it refreshes and pulls the new information out. So we might get lucky here. Let's see. There we go. It's already there. So I select the archive that I want, and then I can add my text. And I just hit create. And there it is, my course. And I can move that wherever I'd like. Then I just publish that out, and the students have access to it. So Wimba, it's a great tool. It's great for collaboration. It's great for review sessions, office hours, those sort of things. And it's great for just doing some creative, on-demand, remote teaching. One grad student that I'm working with is considering using GPS devices while he's in his office, and the GPS device will have Wi-Fi on it, and they'll actually be able to present to his students while giving them coordinates to find certain locations on their GPS device. Just because they can all remote in to the room, and he can actually speak to them. So there's a lot of flexibility here. It's kind of what your imagination holds. And you'll notice one thing, the biggest question we get is there's no video of the instructor. We don't have the talking head. that is coming. We're actually going to be testing that this week. Most likely, it'll be around this area, but the video will be a little bigger. And that'll be coming very soon. Probably next August, we'll have that out to everybody, if everything goes well. So you will have the option to have the talking head as well. So that's a lot of content. If you do have questions, there's a great help in K-State Online for all this type of information on how to add it to the course and what all those buttons do. And there's also a great help within Wimba itself. Just click that help, and it's very detailed about everything that's in there. So if you do have any questions, definitely check those out. That might be able to help. Is there any other questions or comments, concerns? Yeah. Right. And the sharing, the application sharing, has basically video I was streaming out to the student. Right. That'll be coming with the version we're testing. You'll be able to do that. At this point, no. Right. Basically, whatever the camera sees, whatever you're going to have the camera look at. Yep. Yeah, Phyllis. Yes, actually, a very good point. The Masters in Agribusiness here, they have a international program, and just a couple of weeks ago, they had a guest lecturer from Russia at a university there speak to the class here, and he was connected using Wimba. It's much easier. He had his PowerPoints on there. He was able to lecture like he was in the classroom. Basically, they came into the class, had a projector. The whole room could see what the instructor from Russia was presenting on. They could ask questions back to him. So there's a lot of flexibility to that. And it's great for guest speakers because you can just kind of add them to the roster as a visiting instructor, and they don't have to fly in or use a phone bridge, and you don't have to necessarily move their PowerPoints for them. So that really kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility there. No, there's no problems. We actually, when we first did this, I was lucky enough to go with that program to France to test it, and there was like a 2-second delay instead of maybe a 1-second delay back from France. So it's very fast. The nice thing about it is it's all web-based. You can be on a Mac or a PC, basically anything that has internet access. So it works really well. We're really pleased at how very low end it takes. To do this normal PowerPoint and PowerPoint and audio, it only takes 13 kilobytes connection, which most dial-up now are at least 56K. So it's very user-friendly on that side, as long as you're not doing the sharing of the desktop, just because that is the video side of things. So, yes. Yeah, they're fine. Yep. It'll probably be buffered like any other internet video that you have. You go to CNN.com and try to watch a video, it kind of delays for a couple of seconds, kind of trying to catch up. It'll probably be the same with that. I guess it's kind of the nature of the beast, or it tries to catch up and grab as much as it can. And then they always have the option, I believe, to turn off the video. If they do on dial-up, most likely they'll want to turn that off, because really the prime content you want to get out to your students are your slides, your presentation, and your audio. That's really the two specifics that you need to get across to the students. The talking head is nice, but it's not necessarily the most valuable thing. Any other questions? Yeah, that is coming. We're working on features within K-State Online. I can't tell you when it'll happen, but you can invite somebody outside of for those of you who are familiar with the EID process, everybody who's in K-State Online needs an EID. So for some people, that's kind of a hassle, especially if you're inviting a guest lecturer. So we're working on a feature where you can invite somebody into K-State Online by sending them an email. And all they have to do is click on a link, and then they're able to get in and participate for a certain amount of time, like 30 days or so on. So.
Where they have
Um, yeah, we have the option of doing that. Basically, the users that you have for the room are pulled off your roster. So whoever is on your roster has access to your room. For you, there's certain cases where we can open the room up completely, but we try not to do that because anybody can get into that room. You can't limit it. Basically, the user management is controlled by your roster because that's usually who you'd want on the class. So if we were to open up the room, everybody today could go in and go into that room. So there's really no good way. It's kind of an all or nothing sort of scenario. But we like the roster method because students don't need to know a username or password. They've already entered that in, and they can go directly right into the room. So that's kind of one of those things that depends on really if you want a lot of people in the room or not. So.
Maybe for everybody, it's just to explain, I'm out of the controller's office, and what we're using it for, instead of having to have the extension agents and their staff drive in from Garden City and that for an hour class on a document, we're going out on this and presenting it to them. And with travel training coming up or year end and that, we're looking at trying to do that as well. And so we're trying to figure out how we can use this. Saves a lot of travel money, saves 5 to 10 hours on the road for these people. So it's been very productive for us. So looking at that.
I think I can help with that. I'm with K-State Research and Extension of IT. And what we did, we've done online classes before for agents, we just import our LTAP agents. That takes care of everything.
Right.
About maybe creating standards like, FISL, our listserv.
Yeah, because you do have to import by either email within K-State Online. You have a certain information that you can import into the roster, and so that might be the easiest. So, yep. So, question. Any other questions? Charlotte? Now, for that, there's a new software coming out. I'll kind of give you a preview. No, I won't give you a preview, but I can tell you what it is. It's called Wimba Voice Tools. Basically, this will allow you to add voice recording in your course by clicking a button and without having any additional software. So you just be able to go to your tools, say record, and then you can record your message or a lecture even, and then post that out. We're going to be using that for podcast creation. If you wanted to make an audio podcast, you could do it right there in your course. So that'll be a good way to make little audio files and put that in the course. Yeah. This tool is basically, you can't really break it down. You can, but we don't necessarily recommend it. I would suggest getting another software that's out there like Audacity or GarageBand or something like along those lines.
On the archives, this whole thing, the audio,
Actually, it's a whole another room. Let me. It's actually all web-based at this point. So basically, it launches a whole new room for the student. And now you'll see I have the room and I have my navigation where I jumped around. So I can jump around and it'll buffer to the port, that spot. So basically, if you had multiple students who were, let's say, watching the session at the same time, they would see a list here and they could actually chat with each other, which is kind of neat and interesting at the same time. This is where the QuickTime does come in. You do need the QuickTime. But that's still buffering for some reason. But you can actually have them multiple, and you can actually chat back and forth.
So they're seeing exactly what was presented start to finish.
Right, exactly.
Now, we get into the question also sometimes in dialect, it's like, are they the same issues before?
It's actually the exact same. It's a very low, the audio quality is a very low QuickTime file. So it's still in stereo, but it's not CD quality, of course. It's going to be voice quality. That's the nice thing about voice over IP. It doesn't take much for it to be utilized. This is with that setting I made earlier. Come back here. Right. We're not going to get a lot of audio here because I would have had to have my mic on at those times, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure when I had the mic on. But you can come in here and you can see when I did things to the board on that. So I did a freehand, did some annotations and stuff like that. So as a student, I can kind of jump around. It gives me an idea of when I did those things. But the nice thing about that is it is still web-based. We're working on where we can put it on CD type of functionality, but we're not there yet. Yeah, Kevin? It will become podcasts. Those links that you saw, kind of the preview things, will actually be like pictures for a podcast. That'll be coming in the next version, I believe, with video. So that way you can actually use this as a podcast for students, if you'd like. Everybody loves podcasts. It's one of those new buzzwords. It's, you know. And for those of you who are not familiar, we have added the RSS to the actual course, and that'll actually, if the student subscribes to the RSS with the Wimba content in there, it'll actually make them log in. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. No deletion yet. At this point for deletion, you have to contact me. I'll have to delete it off the server. So, but it's okay to go ahead and play around in there. We have plenty of space at the moment. Then I'll say for a year or 2 years from now, I might be coming back to you saying, hey, can we delete some of these archives that are like 3 seconds long when you're just kind of going in and testing? So, but that'll be down the road. By that time, hopefully we'll have a mechanism in place where you can delete it yourself. So, thank you guys.
We will listen
The
to
Landon
geologists
Lecture
next.
Series.
Chemicals are developed.
I would like to take a moment to congratulate
issue
all of
of,
you who are graduating today with virtual commencement.
Kansas State University's Office of Mediated Education.